Death Warrant is the Jean Claude Van Damme mega blockbuster hit movie where he showed the world prison is awesome. It starts off with Van Damme as a Canadian cop in Los Angeles.
Wait for backup.
I'm not waiting.
This is LA, not Canada.
Even though LA isn't like that Wild West shithole known as Canada, he's Van Damme, so fuck your backup. He's approached by these gentlemen,
I'm gonna teach you a lesson in manners.
and while he appreciates the offer, Van Damme has a gut feeling they're not being entirely truthful. So, after kicking this guy's head 3 city blocks away, he tells whoever's on the other side of the radio to eat shit.
Like I said, I'm going in.
And goes inside. He can't put his finger on it, but something just doesn't seem right here. Oh, thank God, it's just a doll bleeding from its eye. Van Damme finds his guy, the Pajama Man,
Time to go to sleep.
but wants to take him alive. So instead of exploding him with a spin kick, he does a far less lethal 5 rounds to the chest.
You're under arrest.
Fuck yeah, now that's police work. Now we get to see Van Damme in his natural habitat, being awesome and giving his fans the surprise of a lifetime. Van Damme, you are a saint. So now he meets with whoever these guys are.
On my right is Ben Keane, on your left is Sam Walden.
That's great, nobody gives a shit. Anyways, they have an undercover mission for him.
The assistant warden was murdered. It might be linked to the deaths of some prisoners. We want to send you undercover into Harrison as a prisoner.
You're from Quebec? No one in jail will recognize you.
1, that's really fucking stupid. Making him a prison guard would make so much more sense. 2, he's Van Damme, everyone will recognize him. And 3, none of that shit matters because he's Van Damme, so of course he can fucking do it. He goes to the prison and really hits it off with the sergeant.
People will try to hurt you, even rape you.
There's no way anyone could ever be that stupid. Except for Van Damme's cellmate, who actually tries it.
You get down on your hands and knees, and you pay.
Only it was just a hilarious joke.
I was just jerking you around. You don't have to have a hairball about it.
Oh, this guy. Such a little stinker. Now it's recess. And this asshole takes Rafiki hostage with a plastic fork. Van Damme doesn't know if that's dangerous or not. All he knows is that not Van Dammes are extremely fragile and that he's really overdoing the Cholo thing.
Are you talking about me, ese?
So he gives him a jumping spin kick so fucking hard that everyone loses their minds and break the quiet rule, which gets the sergeant's attention. When they learn it was a Van Damme spin kick, the sergeant and Farva apologize profusely and hurry the hell out of there as fast as possible.
Puto, you rata ese.
Yeah, we get it, now give it a rest. But he refuses,
Puto, culero.
and Van Damme has had as much of this shit as he can handle.
I want you to meet my homie, Bruce. He likes to kick the shit out of white trash like you.
There is no way anyone's believing that guy's Hispanic.
So what you gonna do?
But whatever, because he clowns both those pendejos hard. After making their deaths look like a run-of-the-mill laundry accident, he takes a quick literature break before heading back out because this prison fucking rules and you can do whatever the hell you want. So Van Damme heads down to the hood and visits Rafiki,
Hello, guys. You miss me?
who's making fucking bullets, and hooks him up with his buddy
See the priest.
that runs a brothel in the basement.
You want a lady?
Every single part of that is fucking awesome.
No.
He thinks he's too good for me, priest.
Everyone does. He's Van Damme, and you're hideous. He tells them thanks, but you guys are fucking gross, and goes to the prison doctor, who's also an inmate, to make sure he didn't catch anything.
Got prescription drugs, morphine and uppers. What do you need?
Nobody said he was a good doctor, but whatever. While he's there, he figures he should probably start on the whole mysterious deaths thing, since that is the only reason he's there in the first place.
I hear you were Barrett's cellmate. Was a good kid, huh?
She never did nothing. A convenience store robbery, and that's it.
And who hasn't committed armed robbery of a convenience store? JCVD, motherfucker, that's who. You tell him what he wants to know, or he's gonna throw pee at you. He gets the info he needs and throws the pee at him anyways, because that shit's hilarious. He then calls Emma Watson's mom, who's eating pizza while drinking beer, wine, and wine coolers all by herself. While he's still too good for her, he does like her style.
What are you doing?
Just kidding. He called to tell her she's an idiot
Pay attention next time.
and then hangs up on her.
Burke?
But she can't take a hint, so while he's trying to give her important information,
Whatever's going on, the guards are involved.
all she does is fantasize about being his wife, even though he was risking his life doing Mission Impossible shit while she was at home getting trashed by herself on a Tuesday. He's Van Damme, and she's only human, so he's used to this by now, and tells her to just call one of his boys
He's a real pro.
so he can do the hard work for her.
He'll do the hacking for you.
His boy has the incredible combination of the typing ability of Steven Seagal, the creepiness of Steven Seagal,
So, you got a boyfriend or something?
the sexiness of Steven Seagal,
You wanna watch Star Trek?
No.
and the self-delusion of Steven Seagal.
I like to think of myself as like a cowboy. Yeah, I'm a computer cowboy.
He's basically Steven Seagal, only more believable of an action star. Anyways, the inmate doctor has big news for Van Damme.
But I found out some things. Well, I was in surgery last night.
He never gets around to saying what that is, but nobody notices because of how fucking crazy it is that they let inmates perform surgeries. That night, Tracy Morgan shows up and gives Van Damme a warning.
I think somebody's gonna pay you a visit tonight.
Which is nice and all, but it's Van Damme. I think he'll be just fine. Meanwhile, these two are banging now, and after Better Seagal makes a breakthrough,
Yes, we're in.
she rushes out and reports it to Van Damme like she came up with it.
Every person who was on that list has been killed.
It's a hit list.
It's also a huge conspiracy, and oh yeah,
There's something else. Your number's next on the list.
1, that should have been the first thing you told him. And 2, why did you go home and change first? Fuck it, who cares? The guys with the awesome hair attack Van Damme in his sleep, but end up getting their asses kicked, while only managing to kill his cellmate, which is actually a win for everyone. After the attack, they throw Van Damme into solitary, not for his safety, but for everyone else's. The next day, Van Damme has a meeting, so they take him out, and after walking what feels like over 8,000 miles, suddenly he feels completely reinvigorated. Sometimes, with all the killing and spin kicks, it's easy to forget what it's like to have a little fun. After 3.5 days of what was described by the Pope as literally heaven, Van Damme heads back to prison a new man. Then shit starts getting so crazy that this trash can just fucking explodes. And nobody ever mentions it. They have bigger problems, like that they just transferred in the pajama killer that Van Damme arrested at the very beginning, which just has to be super awkward. Speaking of awkward, Mama Watson just happens to be at this guy's house when Seagal 2.0 does more of her job for her and tells her this guy is behind everything.
Sorry, Amanda.
Unfortunately, he's not there in person to show her how fucking locks work, so now she's trapped. Luckily, a confused old lady walks in,
What's going on?
which is somehow all it took for her to escape. Now that they're done with that boring plot nonsense, Van Damme can finally start fucking everything up. He starts with this corrupt guard
You don't have the guts to come in this cell.
who spontaneously explodes just to get out of having to fight Van Damme. Then, after high-fiving his cheering fans as he runs by like he's a bushwhacker, the Pajama Man lets all of them out, and they all rush after him because he's Van Damme, and that's what people do. But they're gonna have to wait because he still has a few more asses to kick, like the Sergeant, the Mullet, and the Elf. Then Van Damme has a heart-to-heart with Rafiki,
Maybe I'm going soft in my old age.
and they begin to share. Nope. Fuck you. The guy with the awesome hair just runs through the door that wasn't even locked and starts swinging a dumbbell around like a fucking psycho, which is awesome. Van Damme completely annihilates him, but also respects him, so he died happy. It turns out everyone in this prison has a gun somehow, and this guy we've never seen before shoots Rafiki for reasons that aren't clear. But Van Damme needs to get out of there,
I have to get to the outside.
and they all agree Van Damme is way more important than they are, so they vote unanimously to leave Rafiki to die.
Come on!
They're almost out when Brothel Guy doesn't pay attention to where he's going and runs right into Pajama Man's axe. How embarrassing, but shit happens, and Van Damme's not gonna let it keep him down. He even manages to squeeze in a bodybuilding competition, which he fucking dominates and wins the prestigious Flying Wrench Award. Then we learn Pajama Man's shocking secret. He's been leading a triple life, not only as the Pajama Man, but also a prison guard named Popko, and also as a nurse. If there's one thing Van Damme can't stand, it's liars. So he jump kicks him into a fucking furnace. But Van Damme isn't done with him yet, so he orders him out of the furnace so he can impale his brain on a valve stem. He tries to play it off like he's fine, but nobody's buying it.
Can't kill me, Burke. I'm the Sandman.
No, you're the Pajama Man, and he's Van Damme, so did he just die? He did. He just fucking died, and Van Damme didn't even do anything. Oh well. Then she shows up like she's even a part of this and brings him along, who's trying to figure out how he can take credit for everything. She looks for Van Damme, but he's long gone because you're a 6 at best and he's Van Damme. Fucking deal with it.